steak bites are buttery, garlicky, super tender, and only took 10 minutes to make in my air fryer. If you're looking for a delicious way to make steak that doesn't require you to be Gordon Ramsay with his cast iron, butter basting, and checking the texture of the back of your hand to see if it's the same as your steak, then keep watching for my recipe. So for my prep today, it's a pretty simple recipe. I am using a 16-ounce ribeye today. You can use any cut of steak that you like, but for the juiciest and beefiest flavor, I always prefer ribeye or a New York strip. You can see here that my ribeye today is very well marbled and it's got really nice fat cap to it. Now I'm just gonna cut my steak into 1-inch cubes. Now I do recommend that the steak has been sitting at room temperature for at least 30 minutes because it does help cook more evenly. So prior to cutting the steak, I did make sure that I used paper towel to pat the steak really dry. Getting rid of the moisture will help with the browning color once it's in the air fryer. I really love these fatty pieces because you know that this is just going to melt in your mouth. And these fatty pieces are the ones that just get the crispiest as well. Now what I'm gonna do is marinate the steak with a little bit of oil. Any high smoke point oil will do. Today I'm going to use avocado oil. For my carnivores out there, you can use melted tallow as well. I recommend staying away from butter because butter will burn. We are putting this into the air fryer at 400 degrees later. For this amount of steak, I would say maybe about half a tablespoon to a tablespoon. Ribeye does have quite a bit of fat already, so we don't need to add too much to it. The purpose of the oil is really to help the browning color while it's in the air fryer and also to help the seasoning stick. For my seasonings, it's really flexible. Since my ribeye is so rich, I don't need to add too much today. I'm going to be using some salt. Stick with half a teaspoon for this amount of steak. Some garlic powder. You guys know that I love to put garlic powder in everything that I make. We are going to be using crushed garlic later for the sauce, but I find that the extra garlic powder helps with that really garlicky flavor because I love my garlic. Lastly, just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. I would say about half a teaspoon. Just give that a good mix. Now you probably noticed that I didn't put any black pepper onto the steak, and that's because I do find that black pepper burns while it's in the air fryer. So what I'm gonna do is put black pepper into the butter sauce at the very end so that the steak doesn't burn while it's cooking. Feel free to marinate this for as long as you like, but for me, I'm just gonna throw these right into the air fryer. Now before I get started, I'm going to preheat my air fryer at 400 degrees for 5 minutes. You don't have to preheat your air fryer, but I do find it helps with the cooking process compared to throwing in the meat cold. I like to put the silicone liner in the air fryer. It really helps with the cleanup process after. Feel free to also use a piece of parchment paper with holes in it. Now this steak is going into my air fryer for 6 to 8 minutes. It does depend on your air fryer, but for mine, I find that 6 to 8 minutes is perfect for getting to medium or medium rare. Now I'm putting my steak into the air fryer. Now I did promise you this was going to be a 10-minute recipe. So while my steak is cooking in the air fryer, I have 8 minutes to make my sauce. If you don't have access to grass-fed steaks in your area, I highly recommend trying out grass-fed butter. It's a great economical way to get healthy fats in your diet. Now I have about 1 tablespoon of melted butter here. If you're using a leaner cut, feel free to use more butter, but ribeye is very fatty, so 1 tablespoon is more than enough. And to that, I'm just going to add some crushed garlic. Now I have some fresh parsley here. Feel free to also use dried parsley if you'd like. I'm going to give that a rough chop. Throw that into the butter. And lastly, just a little pinch of black pepper. Give that a good mix. Smells amazing. I love the smell of fresh parsley. You can use any herbs that you like. Feel free to use rosemary, thyme, anything that goes well with steak will go well with this recipe. Once we put the sauce onto the steak, as soon as it comes out of the air fryer, the heat from the steak will cook the garlic a little bit and all the flavors will infuse together. Now I'm just gonna set that aside and wait for my steak to finish. Okay, so it's been 8 minutes and my steak bites are done. You can see that they developed a really nice brown color. Now, as soon as your steak comes out of the air fryer and it's hot, throw in your sauce right away and give that a good mix. Now, lastly, shredded parm. Give that a toss. Okay, now it's time for the taste test. I can tell that these steak bites have just gotten so garlicky, buttery, and the addition of the Parm cheese is just flavor central here. I'm gonna go in for a nice fatty piece. Bon appetit. Oh my God, that's perfect. Oh, those garlic, butter, Parm flavors are just infused in my mouth. It's so tasty and tender. Because we use a very well marbled ribeye today, the steak is super fatty and just melts in your mouth, and the Parm, garlic, and butter flavors just infuse throughout, just makes this taste like heaven. This is so much easier than cooking it on your stovetop. This is a great casual way to get steak into your diet. Perfect for kids, great for parties. It acts as an appetizer. You can use it for meal prep. It's quick, fast, convenient. What more can you ask for? If you liked my video today, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It allows us to help as many people as possible. Leave a comment down below on what your favorite way of making steak is. Until next time.